Hello and welcome. This is Angie with thecountryschiccottage.net here today with another edition of Cricut Basics. So today we're going to cover mats. So we are going to cover what material you use with what mat and what the recommendations are. So if you don't know, Cricut has 4 mats. We have the light grip, which is blue. We have the standard grip, which is green. We have the strong grip, which is purple. And we have the fabric grip, which is pink. So we're going to cover each of these and what they should be used for. Now, depending on which machine you purchased, when you purchased it will depend on what mat actually comes with your machine. But all the mats are available to purchase individually, so you can pick up whatever mat you need for your project. We also have another video on cleaning the mats. So if you're wondering how to clean those, you can find a link for a video in the description for this video. Alright, so light grip, blue mats. So this is for really lightweight materials. So think about like printer paper, your thinner cardstocks, vellum, construction paper, vinyl. You can definitely use for heat transfer vinyl. You can use it for iron-on vinyl. You can use it for regular adhesive vinyl. Anything that's thinner that requires less adhesive, you can use with the blue light grip mat. Alright, so standard grip. Standard grip is next, and that is green. So, a little heavier materials than the blue mat. So, a little bit heavier cardstock, patterned paper that's maybe a little heavier weight, embossed cardstock, and you could also use this one for iron-on and vinyl. So it just depends on kind of your preference as far as how much stick you want with that iron-on and vinyl. I will say when the green mats are new, I find them a little aggressive for my iron-on and vinyl projects, but as they age and lose some of that stick, they're like the perfect thing for iron-on and vinyl, so it kind of depends on where your mat is as well. So what you can do actually, so if you've purchased a green mat, I don't want to go back and buy a blue mat, right? And I want to use it for my vinyl, but it's just sticking so aggressively and I can't hardly get it off the mat. What you can do is take it, just stick it to your shirt a couple times, and it'll sort of fuzz it up enough that it'll lose a little bit of that super aggressive stickiness, and your iron-on and your vinyl will come off like a dream. So there's one little tidbit. Alright, strong grip. So strong grip is the purple mat. So you're going to find this one extremely aggressive when it comes to adhesive. Now, this is the perfect thing for those odd materials. So if you're cutting wood, strong grip is the only way to go. Chipboard, magnet material, think really thick materials that you need to stick down really well. Glitter cardstock is another one. So if you find you have trouble getting glitter cardstock to stick to anything, the purple mat's going to be your answer. Poster board, leather, that type of thing. So really thick materials. And then also anything that you just have trouble sticking to any of the other mats. So I kind of have trouble with like Sport Flex iron-on. It just has some kind of coating on it and I have trouble getting it to stick to my mat. So a lot of times I'll pull out my strong grip and it'll stick perfectly. So if you're having trouble getting something to stick, if it's moving when you put it in your machine, it just doesn't stick down, the purple mat's going to be your answer. So this one also, what I was going to mention, for like wood, maybe even leather, things like that, you can also stick it to a brand new strong grip mat, but you can also take thin masking tape and run it around the outside of your piece of wood, and that ensures even more that it's not going to move. So they even recommend that for the knife blade when you're cutting pieces of like balsa wood or basswood, is to put that masking tape around the outside. So that's another tip for when you're using a strong grip mat. You just can't get it not to move, is to use that masking tape around the outer edge just to give it some extra insurance that it's not going to move in your machine. Now, what I'm going to recommend to you is, if you have a use for the strong grip mat, so you're going to cut some wood, so you're going to pick up the strong grip mat. Pick it up, use it for your wood a few times. As it starts to age, you clean it a few times, but it's really starting to lose its stick. Don't just toss it. A really used strong grip mat becomes a standard grip mat. So that's all. It's losing some of its adhesive, but all of a sudden it's kind of the same stick as a brand new standard grip mat. So just kind of mark in the corner of your mat with a permanent marker. That's kind of what adhesive level it's at. If you have that strong grip and it's just starting to lose, maybe it's now a light grip mat, because if you used it for years on different projects, but you can still use it, just use it like a blue mat. So that's what I was going to recommend to sort of extend the life of those mats. Now, the fabric grip mat is a completely different animal. So this adhesive on the fabric grip mat is completely different than the adhesive on the other mats. So what you want to do with this one is be careful not to touch it with your fingers. The adhesive on this one will actually break down with the oil in your fingers. So what I recommend is adding, so what do you cut on this mat? You cut basically any fabric. So from those just general fabrics that don't have a backer on it, you can even put the fabrics that have a backer on it and cut them in your Explorer 2. Just any fabric that you want to cut, you need to use that fabric grip mat. But after you cut it, what I recommend is using tweezers to pull those pieces back off. That way you don't touch the adhesive with your fingertips. Also, the cleaning procedure for the fabric grip mat is actually completely different than the other three. And I actually cover that in the cleaning mats video, and you can find a link for that in the description for this video. If you can't find it, leave me a comment, and I will definitely get you the link for the cleaning video for your mats. So that way you can extend the life even more. So a few tips and tricks. So these clear pieces that come on your mat when they're new are there for a reason. So they help protect your mat from dirt, dust, debris, anything that might fall on them, and from each other, as I'm sure you store them all together like this, maybe in a stack or stood up. So definitely replace that after each use. So get all the material off of it and replace it. You can on these three colors. So the strong grip, the standard grip, and the light grip. So blue, purple, green. You can use a scraper. So Cricut makes a scraper, and it looks something like this. And you can actually use that scraper to sort of scrape off any tidbits. If you're cutting really small, intricate cuts, say out of paper, you might have little tidbits of paper all over your mat. And you can use a scraper to just kind of scrape those off after you're done. So that will help keep the mat clean and make it where it'll stick for your next project. The scraper, however, is not recommended for the fabric grip mat. So on the fabric grip mat, you might get some fuzz, you might get some strings from fabric, and actually the rotary blade will cut right through all of that. Just when you're having trouble with the fabric actually sticking back to it, one way to extend the life of your mat is to actually use the sprayer. So it's just a roller, and to bray that fabric down. It'll actually make it like where it adheres a lot better. Even if you don't feel like it's sticky, bray it down and I bet it will stick. And then once it gets even past that and you can't get it to stick with the brayer, then follow the cleaning procedure in our other video. Alright, and then to extend the life of your mat even more, follow the directions, right? So the material types we talked about for each mat, only use those material types in it until they get so aged that it's lost its grip. So like we talked about, when the purple gets so aged that it's really a light grip mat anymore, like it's just lost its grip, then relabel it as a light grip and use it as a light grip. So only use those light grip materials with it. So I hope this has helped you determine what material to use with what mat. If you have any questions, ask them below. We are happy to answer. If this video has helped you at all, give us a thumbs up. We love thumbs up. If you would subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss any of the Cricut fun, you might want to scroll back on our YouTube channel as well and look at past Cricut Basics videos, because we have a ton of information out there if you're struggling with your machine. So thank you all so much for joining me today, and we will be back next week with more about your Cricut. Thanks, bye.